Times change, plans change. FNaF is a media of grotesque inconsistency, but for all of its flaws, I am not going to leave it be. Not yet. I owe unfathomable things to Scott Cawthon, to Five Nights at Freddy's, so I'm not going to rest until I have earned it. It wouldn't feel right to simply go. Not now, not like this. Despite what FNaF has become in 2022, there are still good things in the future, and truthfully, I do feel haunted by the past. Only a coward jumps boat at the first sign of trouble. Someone has to man the ship through the storm. Why do I say all of this? Because continuity error almost died before it was born. I was almost the guy who jumped the boat, drowned in the waves of disturbed thoughts from unfinished business, and look, whether or not this extended metaphor makes complete sense, the point is that I almost ditched the FNaF fandom. It sounds stupid, but when you've been an active member for so long, for over 6-7 years, it's kind of a big deal. The fact that you are even seeing this video right now is a testament to the integrity of the Five Nights at Freddy's fandom. My friends, the Hydration Nation, the Shrine of Ambience, even you random strangers on Steam, Reddit, YouTube. Without your honesty and your optimism, I would not still be here. So this is my penance, because it would seem that no good deeds go unpunished for long, and after such continuous glory, apparently things have to go wrong, and not just badly, but utterly, terribly wrong. Wrong in a way which tries to balance out all of the good that came before. This seems to be the state of FNaF in 2022. This is an introduction to this channel, but it's also something more. A record of my thoughts, what I perceive to be true in this time. People from the future might look back on this as a record of events, although truthfully, I am only speaking on my own behalf. I don't know if this will be some holy grail of knowledge and lived experience of this incredible cultural phenomenon, or just some old bad take on that stupid indie horror game that will be forgotten in a matter of weeks. Most likely, this will only be important to me personally, but in time, we will see how much of what I say is regarded as truth and reality by the fandom. I know this will be a lot, but this context is crucial, especially as times change in years to come, for understanding what is going through my head and what my whole understanding of FNaF is at this point in time, what I am really thinking when creating continuity error. It's time I finally launched this project, and I'd like to simply announce what to expect. But a channel trailer will come later, as well as explaining what the channel changed into, why I'm doing what I'm doing, and lastly, giving you all a preview of what is to come. First, I need to establish context in this video. The story so far, what this was before, and the hows and whys of its change into what you will see with the rest of the channel's videos. I will try and make it interesting, but this won't be a short video. The script and editing have both been stitched together from multiple failed attempts at an introduction or welcome to this channel, and although it might be a bit messy, I am tired of rewriting and redrafting this video over and over and over and over and over. I'm just gonna speak my mind. I'm sorry if I come across as too cynical or too naive. I am trying to balance each in a time of desperate need for both. I hope you enjoy. I ask only one thing of everyone watching this. Please listen to me, and then talk to me, especially if you disagree. I'm a reasonable guy. I want to start a civil discussion. So, with all of that out of the way, where to start? For the sake of setting the record, let's go all the way back to the beginning, make sure we're all on the same page. If we don't learn the lessons it provides us, history is doomed to repeat itself. My name is Matt, and, like you, I am sure, Five Nights at Freddy's was one of my favorite video game series. In particular, its mysterious story and lore have intrigued me for a long time. I was 13 years old when I first got into it, watching YouTubers such as Markiplier and 8-Bit Gaming, listening to fan songs by The Living Tombstone and Tryhard Ninja. Early 2015, FNaF 3's trailer, MatPat's first FNaF theories. That's where it all began for me. It wasn't until shortly before Sister Location released that I played the games for myself. FNaFs 1 to 4, even World, they were fun, they were inspiring. And returning to it all as an adult, with thorough analysis and evaluation backed by years of knowledge and understanding of what makes good games, good horror, and good stories, I can really see how impressive FNAF really is in so many ways. A game, a story, a socio-cultural phenomenon. Time passed. I still enjoyed engaging with the community, seeing what fan games, SFM animations, Discord servers and more had to say and share. Things were bad sometimes, but that was okay. Trolls, haters, fetish fan art. These things were few and far between as long as you had common sense navigating the internet. FNAF might have had crap merch, a presence in cringe culture, but Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria Simulator more than made up for the silence of 2017, and to this day might be my favourite FNAF experience. Between that, all of the games, the YouTubers, the videos, the fan games, all of those things of that era, so many good memories. In 2018, we got Ultimate Custom Night and the Scott Cawthon interview. Dorco made history, beating 50/20 mode and bringing us some very interesting insight into the creator's mind of FNAF as the epilogue to the saga had released. This was the end of an era and the dawn of a new age. No more was FNAF an indie horror series with a few books on the side, it was evolving into something bigger. I had been a fan, player, and avid theorist of FNAF for a long time, and I continued to, despite the change of pace. The VR title was an amazing success, revitalizing the franchise in mainstream media. I couldn't play it myself for a long time since I don't have the facilities for VR, but even in flat mode, the game isn't bad. A new book series called Fazbear Frights showed how FNAF could truly experiment, and in daring to do new things, created some of the best and worst Five Nights at Freddy's content that has ever been produced. Frights has captured the essence of FNAF in a way very few things have since the first two games, so I'm glad I mostly kept up with them, despite the absence of Scott games by the end of them. And that reminds me. Time went on, we waited, and waited, and waited. Big promises were broken. Story hints and teasers were never followed through. Drama escalated. After multiple delays of Steelwall's next game and a sordid ordeal involving NFTs, in 2021, Scott Cawthon retired prematurely. It was all very sudden, a shock to all of us. There were many things to be said about his political donations, but I think we can all agree that death threats and doxing was not the way to respond to this disturbing revelation. I don't know what's worse though. The way Scott responded in the moment, or the way he left us. Distraught, confused, and very upset. It's been over a year now. It is little exaggeration to say that I, and many others, respect this man like a saint. He has, or at least used to, have a cult of personality, but can you blame us? When someone so creative and talented has, without knowing, placed godlike influence on your life, on the lives of millions, so much knowledge and experience of video games and art, the internet and social media, all my friends, my social life, the love of my life, all these people I met because of him. Few people have had more control over my life. The same man who left us waiting over 2 years for an atrocious, undeveloped, tonally disjointed identity crisis. The same man who stopped trusting the fandom he'd nurtured for almost 7 years over a political debacle on Twitter. The same man who might have made peace with FNAF himself, but abandoned his responsibility to the very people who allowed him his success. The lack of his presence, leadership, and confidence with the fandom has made FNAF this hollow and soulless shadow of its former self, and much is unclear about how things really are now. Scott must have at least in part worked on Security Breach. He surely still has to approve merch and books, and even if not creating any of this himself, the FNAF movie is still in the works. Has he really retired? Who will his successor be anyways? Surely not anyone we've heard of. The Fazbear Fanverse initiative has to be one of the greatest things a game developer has ever done. Giving fan game devs an opportunity for officialized games and merch, financially supported in their own developments to enhance the franchise, was a genius move and an incredibly generous thing for Scott to do. Sadly, the FNAF fandom is lacking competent and trustworthy figures. It's dropping influencers by the minute. One Night at Flumpty's 3 was the best official FNAF game of 2021, but within days of the Fanverse's first game, after months of waiting on ClickTeam to port it, Jonachrome was exposed as a groomer. However positively I'd love to twist it, that man was in a relationship with a minor and came uncomfortably close to a felony. Those are the facts. Furthermore, the game that might have been FNAF's greatest opportunity to thrive and evolve to become the greatest free roam game that FNAF has ever produced was cancelled by Scott Cawthon. And worse, as part of an immature response involving that cancerous scum Theft King, its head developer Jelly Liam violated an NDA. Those are the cold hard facts. Jelly Liam violated a non-disclosure agreement. Cawthon has grounds to take him to court, and the fool is only 19 years old. Maybe it hasn't led to anything serious, but again, dangerously close. Who's next? Ken Carter? Nixon? Will Ray McCaffrey be exposed for some old tweet? Bad people in the FNAF community is always a shame, but when good people do bad things, that is truly terrible. And so we reach late 2021. That's when I really started formulating the idea for this channel, and I was going to launch it around the release of the next game, the most ambitious AAA featured on State of FNaF game. That game was the nail in the coffin. Up until this point, my goal was simple: a FNAF lore channel, one where I would post video essays of theories and lore to debate with other hardcore fans and theorists. But since then, I've given up on trying to argue with the masses of the closed-minded over something so trivial. It always saddens me how hostile, egotistical, and stubborn so many FNAF theorists are, especially now. Security Breach was more than a bad game. It was an abject failure of game design, optimization, originality, storytelling, character design, gameplay, balancing, atmosphere, everything. SB has failed to do any of the basics of anything that FNAF has ever done before. Some of these weren't even done badly, just not done at all. It beggars belief that something so astronomically poor in execution, if not concept, as this, in almost every possible aspect, was not only allowed, but overseen and worked on by the original creator of FNAF, and accepted by all the loudest voices in the community, as if nothing is wrong. The most positive things I can say about SB are the tiny glimpses of potential in isolated pieces of unused soundtracks, scrapped game modes, character arcs and story that was rewritten and replaced in the final release of the game that we never got to see. Too many in this fandom still insist, obnoxiously, without any respect for proper theory crafting or critical thinking, that this game's random sequence of unbaked events is a canon narrative, post-Pizzeria Simulator, post-Ultimate Custom Night, despite how those games almost perfectly wrapped up the loose ends and created a complete saga. Oh my god! I am so sorry for how emotional this got. I am getting this isn't even in the script, I'm getting way too into this. But do you not feel the same way? I'm not trying to attack anyone. I'm merely stating what I have observed. I could not care less what individuals do or do not enjoy in this context, but the attitude, the ignorance, this is wrong. It must be confronted. Go ahead and enjoy Security Breach, but if you're going to tell me this is some masterpiece of design that outdoes everything that came before it, you need a reality check. It doesn't even matter how utterly meaningless the trite nature of Afton's return yet again is, or the contradictions within Security Breach alone. A narrative across every single FNAF game is impossible. It is impossible. The narrative people insist on, that spans all the games, contradicts everything established before and relies on assumptions founded from nothing. The Afton ending actively shits in the face of the integrity of the lore, the plot, the characters of the best games in the franchise. It is self-destructive and possibly the worst thing about the game. Those were the very things I joined the franchise for. And in addition to trying to ruin all of this, SB fails to make up for it in any department. It doesn't offer compelling gameplay, the atmosphere is crap, the characters are forgettable and two-dimensional, there's nothing. Needless to say, this project was put on hold for a while. Continuity Error, ironically, thinking about how relevant that name is now, has been in stop-start development for months, with constant script rewrites and scrapped video recordings. While I have been stumbling in despair and self-pity, I observe the fandom around me. A lot of people have been making a lot of video essays, and I've talked to folks in a handful of Discord servers too. I even went as far as public threads on Steam and Reddit, and even YouTube comments. Some people are clearly too young or too afraid of criticizing something they love to say anything seriously negative about FNAF. They are in denial. Sometimes, it feels like the haters' claims are right, that this fanbase is a cult, that this fanbase is full of children, that this fanbase has a disturbing amount of porn and fetish art, that this fanbase is definitively cringe culture, and everything associated with FNAF, the garbage merchandise, and now the games, is factually bad. Both carry some truth to them, but both are also extremes of ignorance that must be ignored and must be fought. Things have never really looked more bleak for FNAF. It's in times like these that things like Scott's previous choices of collaborators, the official artists who have drawn very questionable content in the past, the cash grabbers at Lumix, exploiting children in the ways mobile games do far too often, and so on and so forth, are talked about more. More and more often, people are fixating on the negatives and turning a blind eye to the positives, or even vice versa. The validity of FNAF as a horror icon and staple of modern gaming is being questioned. While sales for the overpriced garbage from Steel will have soared, while FNAF has re-entered the mainstream once again, no nostalgia or memes can change the reality that FNAF is losing the things that made it successful, the things that made it compelling in the first place. There is no such thing as kid-friendly horror. You do one or you do the other. They are mutually exclusive and both are watered down when attempted together. You know, maybe most people disagree with this. Maybe this isn't even the opinion of a large minority. Maybe it's just me. But there is one thing that I do know for an absolute fact. FNAF wasn't always like this. It was never like this back in the day. We didn't have all this drama, this controversy, this sellout to children and pandering to a demographic inappropriate for the very things that made FNAF great in the first place. Horror, nuanced characters, tragedy. We had narratives and experiences with substance. We had a loving and faithful community with a leader who felt like a personal friend. The familiar heroes. The biggest worries back then were whether there were two purple guys, two bites, or whether Springtrap was Michael William. The franchise was, you know, willing to talk about its own pitfalls, its own mistakes, its own errors, and its own misdeeds. It was self-critical and it improved because of that self-criticism. The driving force in most of the best FNAF games was to improve something that went wrong with the previous title. It has been lost, forgotten, and Scott's absence is a core part of this. I miss the old days. So, it's all doom and gloom, right? No. I can't say I blindly love and respect Mr. Cawthon, not anymore. My memory of him is soured by his misdeeds, but he is not unforgivable. Few people are. I will not allow recent events to blind my judgment, especially not of any people. As far as I'm concerned, Cawthon owes us relatively little. I just wish he'd come back, talk to us again, maybe apologize for his absence. We need him, and he needs us, just for a little longer. Besides, the worse things are, the more likely they are to improve. We are so numbed to drama these days, what could possibly provoke us now? I think, barring death or conviction of someone famous involved with FNAF, nothing's gonna bother us now. This is the era of FNAF I am speaking from. I am writing, recording, editing, and releasing this in May 2022. Hello, welcome to Continuity Era, for real this time. This is my 5th YouTube channel, depending on how you count them, and the vision for this channel has changed twice in the last year. As I said before, it started off as a place to post lore and theory videos on FNAF. After Security Breach's release, it evolved into more of an archive of ideas based on years of theory crafting. Then I turned the idea on its head to focus on teaching newer fans about the lore and help the uninitiated get their head around the confusing mess that is the FNAF lore given its recent developments. But now I have worked out a way to do all of this, and none of it. Some of these elements have remained, but after everything that's happened, I have to do something simpler, something I can manage in these times. The channel has been delayed again and again and again. I'm sorry I wasn't more motivated to do this, but I've been feeling very conflicted lately. I hope that should be obvious from what I've been saying. FNAF was one of the few untouched gems of my childhood left, and well, as I said before, had it not been for the honesty and critical thinking of the majority of the fandom, the hundreds I have talked to, a few exceptions, the ones who understand, well, you are the reason that I am doing this. you were the ones who gave me some hope that we're not all bad, that some people might forgive the mistakes of others and might actually learn from those mistakes. Take a moment to read some comments and screenshots that I have compiled together. Am I not wrong in my claims? Is my understanding too selective or not comprehensive enough? Because at the end of the day, it really does seem to me that many of us, almost everyone I've talked to, understands this and agrees with this too. Do you feel the same way? Obviously, I am not asking for perfection. Nothing is. And no person lives without some mistakes. It's how we respond to those mistakes and those who have made mistakes that defines us. And I've been very disappointed at how we have treated each other in the last year. I know that we can do better. If nothing else, I know I can do better. So, with all of that in mind, what is Continuity Error now? For starters, a more casual project. I decided to drop my stiff and inflexible ideas for categorizing videos and simplify things in ways for both you and me, and not only share what I understand of the FNAF lore in better communicated ways, but also perhaps some videos on topics that aren't strictly lore, or aren't even strictly FNAF. The dinner is still cooking. I'm also afraid that I cannot promise a schedule of any kind. I'll try not to go more than a month or two without uploading, but we will see. If I'd started this in 2017 or 2018, it would have been purely lore and theory videos. I might have leaned into videos for non-theorists, simplifying the pre-existing lore rather than engaging with the new lore had I started in 2020, but now, we are well past worrying over the bigger picture. If The Scoop or Mr. Hippo's stories are anything to go by, Scott is telling us personally, through fiction, that we are massively overthinking FNAF, and drawing misguided conclusions out of information that doesn't really mean much at all. The FNAF lore is a running joke these days. It does not matter. Enjoy what you derived out of it, because every self-proclaimed theorist, such as myself, every douchebag telling you you're wrong, has made plenty of errors with their own theory crafting in the past. All that matters now is this. I spent a long time creating graphics, thumbnails, writing scripts, even editing videos for this project, and I am scrapping almost everything that has been created up to this point, but most of it can be recycled. And that, I think, covers everything. My history with FNAF, what the channel used to be, what it changed into, so here's what's coming in future. Hopefully, things will pass. We will finally get a big new event to put security breach out of people's minds. The fanverse will flourish. The movie will finally release, and maybe, just maybe, Scott will come back and make amends with us all. Realistically, we won't get half of that. We won't get a third. But at the very least, I can tell you that I will be here to observe and perhaps even comment on matters. FNAF aside, with Continuity Error, I've put off this damn thing for long enough. If I don't just start, it won't matter how many small issues I have with this video and how many things I would have changed. Even now as I am typing, speaking, editing, and uploading this, I am unsure if I phrased everything right, or left all the right or wrong bits in or out. I'm already here later than I would have liked. So, I'll try and start my new series this month, and maybe even live stream a video covering all of the scrapped content. As time goes on, more and more is on the way. The 8-year anniversary is soon. Maybe I'll have settled into things enough by then to do something big. And with all of that being said, if you have any questions, go ahead and ask me in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed the video. Leave a like if you did. Better ones are coming soon, so stick around and subscribe. Maybe ring the bell as well if you want to see them, because I intend to do these well. I want this effort to be worth it. In fact, I even have a Discord server linked in the description with all the other relevant things, if you want to get notifications that you can rely on. I'll be actively discussing Continuity Error and more over there as well. It's like I said at the start of the video. Only a coward jumps boat at the first sign of trouble. Someone has to man the ship through the storm. In addition to what I've said already, despite the bad times, despite all the bad things that I've been made to feel, I need to do these, because I owe it to this franchise, its creator, everyone. And there is always a silver lining. Had events not happened the way that they did, we might not have learned the lessons that we learned. Perhaps this channel would have launched sooner, but would have produced content inferior to that of what is happening now in my new vision for Continuity Error, informed by, well, all the shit that went down in the last year, to put it bluntly. My point is that there is always a plus side. FNAF has done me a world of good in so many ways for such a long time. I owe it this much. There is so much to say about it. Its story, its lore, its characters, its design, its gameplay, its impact on culture. FNAF has raised me up. And in return, I hope to raise FNAF back up too.